Ladies, let me tell you something. Kindness is powerful. Kindness can build empires, restore faith, soften hearts, and pull a person from the edge of despair back into the light. But you better hear me clearly when I say this. Kindness, when given to the wrong person, is a loaded weapon pointed at your own soul. It doesn't heal a narcissist. It feeds them. It empowers them. It blinds you, and in the end, it will destroy you piece by piece. You were taught to be kind. You were taught to be patient, to forgive, to love unconditionally. That's beautiful, but you weren't taught what to do when that same kindness becomes a trap, when that love becomes a leash. When you find yourself trying to save someone who's perfectly comfortable watching you drown. Let's talk about the narcissist, not the villain in a movie. I'm talking about the one who lives in your house, sleeps in your bed, sends you flowers when they need to reset your hope, smiles in public, but rips you apart in private. The one who uses your kindness like currency. The one who only sees you as valuable when you are giving, fixing, forgiving, and breaking in silence. Let me be real with you today. You can't fix someone who doesn't think they're broken. You can't love someone into healing if they love themselves above all, and only as long as it serves them. Narcissists don't want a partner. They want an audience. They want a mirror that reflects how perfect they believe they are. And if your reflection shows truth, shows pain, shows reality, they will shatter you to keep their illusion intact. And here you are thinking maybe if you're more patient, more understanding, maybe if you forgive one more time, maybe if you explain your feelings differently, maybe if you shrink a little more, bend a little further, they'll finally see. They'll finally get it. They'll change. No, quit, they won't. You think your light can heal their darkness, but you forget some people thrive in the dark. Some people don't want your light. They want your attention, your devotion, your silence. They want to mold you into something they can control. And when you start pushing back, they make you feel guilty for having a voice. They twist your empathy into a weapon, and they smile while you bleed. You need to understand something deep in your bones. Narcissists are not confused. They are not unaware. They are strategic. They know exactly what they're doing. They study your kindness like a playbook. They push your buttons, and when you react, they call you too emotional. They withhold love, then drip it back just enough to keep you hopeful. And the longer you stay, the more you forget who you are. That's the cost. You lose yourself. Your laughter gets quieter. Your energy disappears. You walk on eggshells in your own home. You second guess your own memories. You feel crazy. You feel not enough. You feel like the problem. But let me tell you something, baby, you're not the problem. You are the target. And the longer you keep trying to fix them, the more you delay your own healing. You are not called to be someone's emotional punching bag. You are not here to absorb abuse in the name of love. Love doesn't require you to disappear. Love doesn't demand you suffer, and love does not come at the cost of your sanity. You keep telling yourself it's going to get better. You keep holding on to the good moments, the laughs, the apologies, the fake tears. But those are crumbs. You are starving, and they keep feeding you crumbs. You deserve a full table, a real seat, a place where your heart can breathe and your soul can thrive. Not a cage wrapped in pretty words and false promises. And let me say this loud. You can't love someone out of narcissism. That is not your job. That is not your calling. That is not your responsibility. The more you try, the more you lose. You lose your voice, your joy, your purpose. You lose the very essence of what makes you beautiful. Your light, your strength, your fire. Some people are emotional teachers. They will steal your peace and blame you for the robbery. They will hurt you and cry louder than you when you react. And you'll find yourself apologizing for things you didn't even do. You'll twist yourself in circles, trying to avoid their next outburst, their next manipulation, their next storm. But the storm never ends, because peace was never the goal. Control was. You're waiting for them to change, but change doesn't come from comfort. And you've made it too comfortable for them to be cruel. Every time you forgive without accountability, you teach them they can get away with it. Every time you stay silent to keep the peace, you teach them that your boundaries don't matter. Every time you love them harder when they hurt you deeper, you teach them that pain is the price you're willing to pay. Stop teaching them that your kindness is not weakness. Your love is not a flaw. But when you give it to the wrong person, it becomes a weapon used against you. You were not created to be depleted. You were not created to be small. You were created to rise, to grow, to walk in love, yes, but also in truth. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. Let me tell you something, Queen. You are allowed to leave. You are allowed to protect your peace. You are allowed to stop explaining yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you. You are allowed to stop justifying your existence to someone who only sees you as a reflection of their own ego. You are allowed to reclaim your life. You are allowed to say no more, and it's not easy. I know narcissistic relationships are designed like traps. They isolate you. They make you doubt yourself. They confuse love with dependency. But the truth is, the longer you stay, the harder it is to remember how life felt without chaos. But freedom is still possible. Healing is still possible. Peace is still possible. But it begins when you stop believing that your kindness will save them. It won't. Kindness is sacred. It's holy. But it is not a cure for evil. It is not a substitute for self-worth. It is not a strategy for survival. You cannot pour water into a broken glass and expect it to hold. You cannot build a future with someone who only wants to destroy your foundation. It's time to let go of the fantasy. Let go of the potential. Let go of who you thought they could be. See them for who they are, not who they pretend to be, not who they are when they want something, not who they were for the first 3 weeks. Look at the pattern. Look at how you feel. Look at the exhaustion in your spirit. That is truth. And truth doesn't lie. You don't need their permission to walk away. You don't need their apology to heal. You don't need their validation to know you're worth more. You don't need a goodbye to begin again. All you need is a decision, a deep, soul-rooted decision that says, I choose me. Not because you're selfish, but because you've sacrificed enough. Not because you hate them, but because you finally love yourself enough to stop bleeding for someone who won't even bring you a bandage. The most dangerous lie you can tell yourself is, I can handle it, because handling it isn't healing. Surviving isn't living. Staying isn't strength, it's surrender. And you, my dear, were not built to surrender your soul just to keep someone else comfortable. Take your life back, piece by piece, breath by breath, moment by moment, because the life waiting for you on the other side of this pain is worth it. The peace, the clarity, the silence that doesn't feel like punishment, the mornings where you don't wake up anxious, the days where you don't have to explain why you're crying, the nights where you sleep without tension in your chest. That life is waiting for you, but you have to choose it. You have to walk through the fire. You have to let the illusion burn, and you have to stop thinking your love can save someone who is using it as a weapon. Kindness doesn't heal a narcissist. It feeds them. It empowers their dysfunction. It gives them the fuel to keep you locked in a cycle of hope and hurt, love and loss, chaos and calm. But kindness can save you when you finally give it to yourself. Be kind to your heart. Be kind to your boundaries. Be kind to the voice inside you that's been screaming quietly for years. Be kind to the little girl inside you who just wanted to be loved without condition. You are worthy of a love that doesn't hurt. You are worthy of a peace that doesn't cost your voice. You are worthy of a life that feels like freedom. So stop trying to fix them. Start fighting for you, because one day you'll look back and realize that leaving wasn't the end. It was the beginning, and your healing. It didn't come from their apology. It came the moment you finally understood you were never the broken one. You were the light. You were the safe place. You were the consistent, the loyal, the faithful one. And they saw it. Oh, they saw it clearly. That's why they picked you, because deep down, they knew they could never match your depth, so they tried to diminish it. They could never meet your love, so they drained it. They could never walk in your shoes, so they tried to trip you at every step. But guess what? You're still standing, a little bruised, a little tired, but you're still here. And that means something. That means there's more for you. That means there's life beyond this pain. That means everything they tried to take from you, they failed. You still have your heart. You still have your power. You still have your ability to rebuild. Don't you dare think this was the end of you. This was your awakening. This was your reminder that no matter how dark the room gets, you are the light. And when a narcissist tries to smother that light, it's not because it's weak. It's because it's blinding. Your empathy is not the problem. Your compassion is not the flaw. But now is the time to put that same love, that same protection, that same fight into yourself. You gave them chance after chance. You showed up when they didn't deserve it. You forgave things you never thought you would. You swallowed your pain to keep the relationship afloat. And still, it was never enough for them. That's not your failure. That's proof that they weren't capable of receiving real love. You weren't too much. You were just too real for someone who only deals in illusions. And now you know better. Now you see the pattern. Now you're done trying to heal people who are committed to staying the same. You are done making excuses for behavior that would have broken your younger self. You are done playing small so they can feel big. You are done being destroyed by your own kind, and now you rise. You rise with boundaries, with clarity, with new eyes that no longer confuse chaos for passion, that no longer call breadcrumbs a feast, that no longer cling to hope where only harm exists. Because the truth is, you never needed their love to be whole. You just needed to remember your own. And from this day forward, you're not begging for someone to choose you. You're not waiting for them to realize your worth. You're not chasing their approval like it's the oxygen you breathe. You are no longer the woman who bends backwards to prove her value. You are no longer the woman who settles for apologies instead of change. You are no longer the woman who believes love should come with suffering. You are a woman who knows now that real love, true love, doesn't hurt more than it heals. Let that sink in, because love should build you, not break you. It should bring peace, not confusion. It should feel like home, not like war. And if what you've been calling love has left you empty, doubting, anxious, exhausted, crying in bathrooms and smiling in public, that's not love. That's survival. And baby, you didn't come this far just to survive. You came to thrive. You came to create a life that reflects your soul, a life where your laughter isn't forced, where your worth isn't up for debate, where your peace isn't constantly on the line, where you wake up and don't have to guess which version of them you're getting that day. You came to be free, so walk in that freedom, even if it's scary, even if it's unfamiliar, even if your voice shakes and your knees buckle. Walk anyway, cry while walking, grieve while walking, but don't you dare go back to what broke you, because I promise you this. On the other side of leaving is a version of you that will shock you. She laughs louder. She sleeps better. She shines brighter. She doesn't apologize for needing space. She doesn't shrink when someone raises their voice. She doesn't second guess herself every time she makes a decision. She remembers who she is, and more importantly, she protects that version of herself fiercely, because once you taste peace after chaos, you'll never settle for war again. Yes, it will take time. Yes, it will hurt. Yes, the silence may feel deafening at first, but in that silence, you will start to hear something beautiful, your own voice. The one that was silenced for years, the one that was drowned out by manipulation and gaslighting and emotional warfare. That voice will grow stronger. It will guide you. It will remind you that you are not crazy. You are not broken. You are not dramatic. You are not too emotional. You are human, and you deserved better. You still do. So here's the truth that sets you free. Your kindness is not meant to heal someone who chooses to stay sick. Your love is not meant to patch up someone else's unhealed wounds. Your purpose is not to fix broken people who won't even pick up the pieces themselves. You are not their rehab center. You are not their therapist. You are not their savior. You are a woman who deserves love that pours back into her, words that heal her, energy that nourishes her, actions that match intentions, and presence that feels like peace, not punishment. So if you're in that place right now, standing at the edge of decision, hear me loud and clear. It's okay to choose yourself. It's okay to leave the table when love is no longer being served. It's okay to stop setting yourself on fire to keep them warm. It's okay to walk away with no closure, no explanation, no dramatic ending, Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is leave quietly, softly, finally, and never look back. Because on the other side of that exit door is not just survival, it's revival, a new life, a healed heart, a future you can build without fear, a peace you didn't even know existed that's waiting for you. All you have to do is take the first step and remind yourself every day, kindness may not have healed them, but it will heal me. And that's the shift, Queen. That's when the real healing begins. When your kindness stops being a tool to fix others and starts becoming a refuge for yourself. When you no longer pour into people with leaking souls and start building rivers that lead only to your own peace. Because now you understand something sacred. You can't build a future with someone whose foundation is made of lies. You can't create safety with someone who thrives in chaos. You can't build trust with someone who manipulates every truth you speak. You can't build intimacy with someone who turns your vulnerability into ammunition. And you can't build love with someone who doesn't know the meaning of it except as a weapon, a trap, a hook to keep you tethered while they drain you dry. They never wanted healing, they wanted power. And as long as your kindness was available, they had it. But now you've woken up, you've pulled back the curtain, you've seen the machinery behind the mask, and you realize it wasn't love, it was possession, it was dependency, it was control, dressed up as connection. And no matter how deeply you wanted to believe otherwise, you finally see the truth. And now you reclaim everything they tried to erase. Your boundaries, they're back. Your voice, louder than ever. Your joy, yours again. Your intuition, sharpened. That gut feeling you used to ignore to keep the peace. That was God. That was your warning. That was your divine protection. And now you listen to it. You trust it. You follow it because it never lied to you. But here's the beauty in all of this. What they did to you didn't destroy you. It revealed you. It uncovered the strength you didn't know you had. It showed you what happens when a woman stops begging to be loved and starts becoming the love she needed all along. It turned your pain into clarity, your confusion into conviction, your silence into a roar. So don't you dare feel ashamed for staying too long. Don't beat yourself up for loving too hard. That love was real, even if they weren't. That care was deep, even if they were shallow. And that heart of yours, it's still gold, still worthy, still radiant. You didn't lose in this. They lost the one person who would have gone to war for them. They lost the loyalty they never deserved. They lost access to a light they tried to dim but never could. They lost a soul they couldn't match. And the universe always makes sure that loss echoes. But you gained wisdom. You gained strength. You gained your life back. So now when someone asks you why you left, you don't owe them a story. You don't owe them a list of receipts. You don't owe them your pain repackaged into a polite explanation. You left because your spirit said enough, and that's reason enough. Because healing isn't loud. It doesn't always look like a dramatic exit. Sometimes healing is a quiet morning where you finally don't wake up with anxiety in your chest. Sometimes healing is deleting the number blocking the access and not announcing it to the world. Sometimes healing is sitting in your room, candles lit, music low, whispering, I deserve more, I deserve more, I deserve more. And one day you stop whispering it. One day you say it out loud. One day you walk like it, dress like it, speak like it, move like it. One day the woman who cried herself to sleep becomes the woman who doesn't tolerate even a fraction of what she used to beg for. That day is coming for you. And when it does, you won't recognize yourself in the most beautiful way. You'll be softer, but sharper, kinder, but guarded, loving, but no longer naive. You'll forgive not for them, but to free yourself. You'll look in the mirror and finally say, that woman, that's me, and I fought like hell to become her. So if you're still in the storm, hear this as a lifeline. You are not crazy. You are not alone, and you are not weak. You are a human being who loved deeply, hoped earnestly, and believed in someone who made a sport out of betrayal. That doesn't make you stupid. That makes you brave, because even after all that, your heart still works. Your soul still wants to believe. You still want to love again. Just this time, you'll do it wiser, stronger, with a higher standard and a lower tolerance for games. You'll do it with discernment, not desperation. You'll do it from overflow, not emptiness. You'll do it from power, not pain. And when the next person comes into your life, they will meet the healed you, the whole you, the woman who knows her worth and protects it. And if they're not ready for that version of you, they won't even make it past hello. You see, this pain taught you boundaries. It taught you self-respect. It taught you to stop romanticizing red flags. It taught you to listen to your body when it tenses up. It taught you to stop explaining your standards to people who have none. It taught you that closure is a lie and peace is the only thing that matters. So don't chase closure, chase clarity. Don't chase apologies, chase freedom. Don't chase love, chase truth. Because when truth enters your life, lies lose their power, narcissists lose their grip, and you rise like a woman who finally knows she was the prize all along. Let that truth sit with you. Breathe it in. Speak it out loud if you have to. Write it on your mirror. Tattoo it on your mind. Because this world will try to convince you that your worth is negotiable, that your love has to be earned, that your softness must come with suffering. But you've lived long enough in the wilderness of someone else's dysfunction. Now it's time to come home to yourself. You were not made to beg, not for love, not for loyalty, not for consistency. You were made to be chosen effortlessly, not tolerated conditionally. You were made to stand tall in your truth, not tiptoe through someone else's ego. You were made to walk in love with your head held high, not crawl for crumbs. And when you finally stop trying to fix someone who benefits from being broken, your entire life begins to shift. The silence that used to terrify you becomes sacred. The solitude that once felt like punishment becomes peace. The void they left behind becomes space. You fill with your own presence, and the parts of you they tried to erase, they start to come alive again, little by little, day by day. It starts with the way you breathe easier, the way you laugh louder, the way you catch yourself singing in the kitchen again, the way you go to sleep without rehearsing arguments in your mind, the way you wake up not dreading the day. That's the quiet work of healing. That's the reward for choosing yourself. And no, it's not linear. You'll still have days where the memories sneak in like thieves. You'll still question yourself. You'll still remember the good moments, and you'll wonder if you were wrong. But hear me, you weren't wrong. You were real. You showed up with truth, with heart, with depth, and they didn't know what to do with it. That's not on you. That's on them. And just because you saw a glimpse of who they could be, doesn't mean you were meant to stay for the full horror show. Potential without effort is just a performance. You stayed too long because you loved too hard. That's not weakness. That's loyalty. And now your loyalty belongs to someone who's been begging for it all along. You. So give that loyalty to yourself. Give that fight to yourself. Give that grace, that patience, that healing to yourself. Because if you don't choose you, who will? Stop waiting for them to come back and finally act right. If they didn't value you when they had full access to your soul, they sure won't value you now that you've taken it back. And if they do try to come back, remember it's not love they miss. It's control. Because you were never loved, you were used. You were never seen, you were studied. You were never heard, you were monitored. and every act of kindness they now claim to miss was just another opportunity to take. So don't romanticize their return. Don't let loneliness trick you into reopening a door you prayed would finally close. Don't let nostalgia blur the truth. The version of you that tolerated that pain no longer exists. And if you're still becoming her, be patient. Becoming takes time. Healing takes time. But don't rush it. Don't force it. You're not behind. You're not late. You're exactly where you need to be to rebuild stronger, wiser, freer. And as you rebuild, you'll learn to protect your peace like your life depends on it. Because it does. You'll say no without guilt. You'll walk away without explanation. You'll stop over-explaining your value. You'll stop negotiating with people who never intended to meet you halfway. You'll learn that love is not supposed to hurt. Let me repeat that because it's important. Love is not supposed to hurt. Yes, relationships take work, but work is not war. Effort is not pain. Challenges are not cycles of trauma. You don't need to bleed to prove your love. You don't need to suffer to earn your keep. You don't need to lose your identity to belong. If someone asks you to give up yourself just to keep them happy, that is not a relationship. It is a prison. You were born to fly. You were born to expand. You were born to take up space. You were born to be seen, heard, loved, celebrated, not tolerated, not silenced, not shaped into someone else's comfort zone. So when you look back, don't just see the pain, see the lessons. See the fire that forged you. See the moments that built your backbone. See the nights you didn't think you'd make it, but did. See the tears that baptized you into your new beginning, because you're not just healing, you're rising. And this new you, she doesn't chase, she attracts. She doesn't beg, she commands. She doesn't tolerate confusion. She speaks with clarity. She doesn't shrink to be liked. She stands tall and lets the insecure get uncomfortable because she knows now her love is rare and only the worthy will get access. So from this moment on, you no longer ask, why did they hurt me? You ask, what will I no longer allow? You no longer say, maybe I wasn't enough. You declare, I was too much for someone who was never enough for me. You don't wonder if you could have done more. You remember you gave everything. And now it's time to give to yourself. This is not your ending. It's your emergence, your return to self, your resurrection. Because you don't need closure. You need healing. You don't need revenge. You need peace. You don't need them to change. You need to never change back. Let them go. Let the version of you that tolerated the bare minimum be buried. Let the fantasy burn. Let the hope for who they might be rest in peace. Because that chapter is done and you're writing a new one with hands that are no longer shaking. One breath at a time. One boundary at a time. One bold, unapologetic choice at a time. You are no longer sacrificing your soul on the altar of someone else's brokenness. You are no longer confusing endurance with love. You are no longer letting your kindness destroy you, because now finally your kindness belongs to you. And that's the beginning of everything. That's the turning point most people never reach. When you realize your heart is sacred, your love is a privilege. Your presence is not something to be accessed freely by people who treat it like an option. When you stop handing out pieces of yourself to people who show you again and again that they're only here to take, and now that you know, you protect it. Because there's no going back. You've already tasted the truth. You've already seen what happens when your kindness is placed in the wrong hands. How it's twisted, manipulated, weaponized, how it becomes a leash instead of a language. You've seen how your gentleness is turned into guilt, how your forgiveness becomes fuel for their next betrayal. You know better now, and that knowing, it becomes your power. So now you love differently, you move differently, you choose differently, not from fear, but from wisdom, from depth, from self-respect. You don't entertain people who drain you. You don't explain your worth to people committed to misunderstanding it. You don't overstay in rooms where your soul is suffocating. You don't smile through emotional warfare. You don't mistake manipulation for love or confusion for chemistry, because now you have peace. And when you've lived without it for so long, peace becomes non-negotiable. It's not that you're bitter, it's that you're clear. You don't hate them. You just refuse to betray yourself again for the sake of maintaining the illusion of connection. You're not carrying around the weight of what they did. You're releasing it every day, every breath, every decision that says, I matter now. You stopped waiting for closure because you finally realized peace is better than answers. They won't apologize the way you deserve. They won't own what they did. They'll tell their version of the story. They'll make themselves the victim, and that's fine. Let them. You don't need the truth to come from their mouth, because now it lives in your body. You've felt the consequences. You've survived the storm. You've come face to face with the wreckage. You know the truth, and knowing it sets you free, because what they did to you wasn't love. It was control. It was manipulation. It was convenience. And for far too long, you confused their need for you with actual devotion. But someone needing you is not the same as someone cherishing you. Wanting your energy is not the same as pouring into you. Saying I love you is not the same as showing up when it matters. And you've learned that now, the hard way, but the most permanent way. So what's next? You rebuild not just your life, your inner world, your standards, your self-talk, your faith in yourself. You build an identity that doesn't revolve around fixing people who refuse to fix themselves. You build habits that serve your peace. You build boundaries that don't bend under pressure. You build a future where you don't have to abandon yourself to be loved. You stop playing small so others don't feel insecure. You stop laughing at jokes that hurt you just to avoid being too sensitive. You stop apologizing for your intuition. You stop explaining your no. You stop proving your love to people who can't even meet you with respect. Because now, your love isn't desperate, it's disciplined. You're not available to everyone. Your energy is not a public resource. Your heart is not a rehab center. Your presence is not a second chance to people who fumbled you the first time. And this isn't you being mean. This isn't you being cold. This is you being healed. This is what it looks like when a woman stops betraying herself, when she stops asking for scrap, when she stops craving chaos and starts walking in peace like it's her birthright. Because it is. And let's talk about that. Because somewhere along the way they made you believe your healing would be loud, dramatic, cinematic, but real healing, it's quiet, it's subtle. It's that moment you no longer flinch when you hear their name. It's the day you stop checking your phone for messages that will never come. It's when you see something that used to break you and you keep walking. You don't always get to announce your healing. Sometimes you just live it softly, boldly, silently, until one day someone looks at you and says you're glowing, and they won't know the nights you cried, the prayers you whispered, the anxiety you had to fight off just to get out of bed. They won't know how many times you almost went back. They won't know the battle you fought inside your own mind just to say, I'm done. You'll know that you were the one who saved yourself, that you were the one who pulled yourself from the wreckage, that you were the one who broke the cycle, that you were the one who chose truth, even when it hurt, that you were the one who walked away. Not because you were weak, but because you were finally strong enough to stop bleeding for someone who never brought you a bandage. You will carry that knowing with you for life. And it will shape everything. It will change who you let into your space. It will change the way you speak to yourself. It will change what you tolerate, what you allow, what you expect, what you demand. You won't settle for almost. You won't entertain. Maybe. You won't play games with someday. Because now you live in reality. Now you love from overflow, not emptiness. Now you see people clearly, not for who you hope they'll become, but for who they show you they are. And when someone shows you they're not safe, You'll believe it the first time. You won't try to fix them. You won't try to prove yourself. You won't ask them to stay because you finally know you are the table. And if someone can't bring peace, presence, and partnership to that table, they don't get a seat. Not anymore. This is your era of self-honor, of sacred standards, of non-negotiable joy, of loving boldly, but wisely, of giving second chances, but not to people who squandered the first ones, of protecting your softness, not just flaunting it, because now you know your heart is a gift, not a project. And if someone can't receive it with care, they don't get to hold it, not even for a second.